Everyone, and we are welcome to another episode of our Thursday Tech Talk on our Power Platform series. My name is Catherine Aligame, and I'll be handling this session alongside Ekomobong William, who is our speaker for today. So for those of us that stayed back on the call, that joined early and stayed back on the call, thank you very much for staying back. And so it's been 3 weeks into the series, and we've had quite a lot of insightful sessions. And so if you had missed any of our sessions, not to worry, because we have all our sessions recorded and made available for you on our YouTube channel. And I'll be dropping the link to that channel shortly as we go into the session for today. So just last week, we started on how to build an intelligent low-code, no-code power app. And because of time, we couldn't complete that session. So we're back today with Willie to complete that session with us. So just before I hand over to him, I will just go over our housekeeping rules again. So please, this call is currently recorded and will be made available for you on our YouTube channel, like I mentioned earlier, inclusive of all our sessions we've had previously. And also just for us to have a seamless session, please do mute your mic if you're not speaking so we don't disrupt the speaker. I'll be dropping a link to a short survey for us to feed, just for us to get feedback on how we're doing and to make necessary adjustments. And also, I'll be dropping links to our various social media handles for you to follow, share, like, and be well informed on sessions like this. So I'll be handing over to Williams now and do have an insightful session. Over to you, Willie. Hello, Willie.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for taking our time to be with the media today. So this week is a continuation of our topic last week, where we were building a Canvas app on Power App for a leave request system. So for those of us that were not here last week, there is a recording available for the last week session that you can easily watch on Microsoft Teams. So I'm going to paste the link to that recording after this session. So I'm going to introduce myself again for those of us that were not here last week. So my name is Willie Ekomobong. I'm a Power Platform Sharepoint engineer at Ha-Shem Limited. So I work on Power Automate, Power BI, and Sharepoint Online. You can catch me up on social media with the following username. So you can catch me up on Facebook, Willie Ekomobong, or LinkedIn, Willie Ekomobong. So today we are just going to continue from where we stopped last week. So I'm going to share my screen right now with you all. Okay. So last week we were able to start building a simple leave request system on Power App. So last week we were able to, build the form that takes in information and submits on our SharePoint list. So this week we are going to fetch data. So we're going to have a pending request page, an approved request page, and a rejected request page. So all that is going to help our user when they're using the leave request to know the exact state of their request. So we're just going to do a quick recap of what we built last week. So we built this leave request that takes in information from our SharePoint list. Can read and write information into our SharePoint list. So I made a few additions to the SharePoint list, which I'm going to I'm just going to open up the SharePoint list and show you the addition I made. So I'm going to open up my SharePoint site and the SharePoint list leave request test, which you created last week for our application. All right, so I added 2 more requests and created the status to be approved and rejected. So that way we are able to evaluate our application. So this was done manually by me, but next week my colleague Basi is going to take you on how this whole process can be automated. So you don't have to come to the SharePoint list to change the status of a request to approved or rejected. So there's going to be an automated flow that does that once it's rejected by your manager. So next week, my colleague Basti is going to take you on that um, using Power Automate. So this week, we are just going to evaluate these new items that we added to our SharePoint list. And I worked on like the finished product. So this is basically what we are going to have. So we have a form for new requests. We can make a new request if you want, fill in the we can see our pending request page. So this is like the finished product of what we are going to build today. This is what we are going to build. So I worked on this. So this pending request page has a list of all our pending requests directly from our SharePoint list. So this is our travel request, leave request under category study leave. So if we check our SharePoint list, we see this travel request under our study leave is pending. So we see that here on our pending request page. So you can also make a new request directly from the page. When you click on the new button, you can also view your request that you've made, and you can also see that this the button to update it is disabled. But if you try and edit it with this edit icon, you can see that the button for this has been enabled. So when you make your edit, you can also come back and update it. So once you make your form view, you see that the button becomes disabled. So we are going to do all those little evaluations today, and you're going to see how all those work in real life. So we also have our approved screen, so we can see this is approved, and we're also going to put an indicator to our gallery, so we know which page we are on. So we see the red, we know we are on approved. Sorry, we see the green, we know we're on approved. We will see the yellow, we know we're on pending, and if you see um, the red, we know our leave has been rejected. So that's basically what we're going to do today. So this was where we stopped last week. So you can see that we haven't linked these pages yet. So we're going to create all those pages today from the bottom. So the next thing we're going to do today is we're going to add our pending screen. So let's add our pending screen. So how do we do that? We're going to so we're just going to duplicate our new request screen so we can maintain this header that we created already. So we can have so we click there's a 3 dot here. So you click on it, how to duplicate the screen. You see all the list of all your screens here. You click on the 3 dots here and you click on duplicate screen. So that way it's easier for you to reuse a particular look from a screen across multiple screen by just duplicating that screen. So that way it's easy for you to just use some parts of that screen that can be available on other screens. But ideally, probably subsequently during our next sessions, we are going to capture that. So we have a new screen created for us. So I'm going to just rename the screen to pending request. So I'm going to delete this form. Right, so we delete this form. So we're just going to add a field to this page, a purple color field. All right, so we can give this another field. All right, so we can rename this to pending request. All right, so now we have pending request. So the next thing we're going to do is add our plus button for making a new request rather. So we're just going to go to insert, come to icons. So we're going to first start by inserting a cycle from what you saw from this other application. So this is what we're going to do right now. We're going to create this plus button. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you how we do that. So we're just going to come here, insert cycle. All right, so we're just going to take the cycle here, we'll reshape, resize it so it doesn't overflow our border. So we just take it up here. We see the color is identical with our border, so it camouflages. So we just create a border, add a solid fill to our border, and put a border color of white. So you can see how we got the cycle. So we have created a cycle. So we're just going to try and resize the cycle to fit in to our border properly. Okay, so we're just going to add our plus icon for creating a new request. So we come to icons, click on the add icon. So we change the color of our icon to white. So we can see we now have the ability to create a new request with our icon. So we just place this formula on the button. So the formula says navigate to, so we're going to use a navigate function. So navigate to our new request page. So we just add a transition for the screen. So screen transition means the transition that the screen takes when you click on the button. So this is what the screen transition is going to do. So when you click on the plus, you see a little bit of animation. So that's what the screen transition is used for. So when you want to add an animation to your pages on Power App, you use the screen transition formula. So now we've created this part of the page. The next thing we're going to do is to fetch information from our Sharepoint using galleries. So we're going to come to insert gallery. We're going to insert the vertical gallery. So this is a predefined gallery from Power App that takes in information. So we have vertical, we have horizontal, we have flexible height, we have blank vertical, we have blank horizontal, we have blank flexible height. So these are 6 different types of gallery controls that you can use according to how it fits your purpose. So we're going to use the first one, which is the vertical gallery. All right, so we have our gallery now. So the app is going to ask us to choose our data source. So this is the data source we're going to use, and this was the one that we created last week for those of everyone. I'm so sorry, my network just went off, but let's continue. So we're going to just resize this gallery to fit our screen. So let's choose our data source. So our data source is going to be leave request test. All right, so we can see here that by default it creates items from our leave request. So right now it does the application doesn't know if this is pending, if it's approved, or if it's rejected. But from our design, what we want to build, we want to make this page only capture the approved, the pending request rather. So by default, the system is just going to present to us all the items we have on our SharePoint list without filtering. So if you see the items, you just see the request test. So this is basically the items from our data source. It's not filtered, but we're going to filter this. But before we do that, we're going to actually add a little bit of design to the gallery. So just click on gallery, go to add a button. So I usually like using buttons to design my gallery. So you just insert the button. So you drag the button and try and just make the button fill the width, or just make it suitable for your view. All right, so now that we have that, we're just going to add a little bit of border radius to the button, and we're going to send the button to back. So right now we can't see our information. Okay. The first thing we do is we'll clean up the text, so it's going to be plain looking. Then we are going to send the button to the back. So just go to reorder. So you first right click on your screen, it'll give you a formatting pane. So you just click on reorder and click on send to back. So the button gets sent to back and you get to see all your items at the front. So we're going to just resize everything to fit in. All right, so first thing we're going to do is for the image, you can either delete the image, but today we're going to just add the image of the person that creates this request. So it's going to aid, let's say you have an application that has a lot of requests from different users. So if you add an image to display the person that creates that request, it's going to be easy for the administrator to administer the app in a way, because once they look at the image of the person that creates the request, they can easily identify the person that creates that request without having to look for the name or other details. So the next thing we're going to do is just change the font color. So we change the font color to white to be more legible to the users. And we change this to white also. So we also need to change the icon of our direction button to white. Then we move it here. So you can see this is what we currently have now. All right, so we can add a little bit of animation to our gallery. So how do you add animation? So what you do to add animations is you highlight the gallery, you come to the right hand side of your application board, and you come to transition. So this transition property of the gallery help you to pop or push, to set a pop or push animation for your gallery. So I'm going to use the push animation, so you see the effect. So this is the effect of the animation. So we're going to delete the separators. So right now what I'm just doing is I'm trying to just take a whole lot of time working on apps. The controls are not really flexible, so you have to work. Okay, so let's add an image to the image field. So the formula we're going to use is formula to display image. But before we add the formula, we're going to first add the Office 365 connector. So the Office 365 connector is a connector available on Power App. It allows you to fetch information about users, whether it's their name, their department, their job title, their picture, or their managers, right, directly from the Active Directory. So that is just one of the hundreds of connectors that you can use in Power Apps. So all these are available free connectors. So let's add the Office 365 user connector. So how to add it? You go to your connection panel, you come to connectors, and you add the Office 365 connector. So now that I've added it, you can see here. So the Office 365 has syntaxes that you need to use when you're trying to fetch information. So this is the syntax you're going to use to fetch information for a particular user that created this request. So we're just going to type in Office 365 user photo. So you can see that it's generating all available properties of the Office 365. So we're going to just put Office 365 the user photo, this item, that is this item dot the author. The author basically means the person that created the item dot email. So just fetch the picture, the person that created this request from their email address. So that's what it basically means. So you can see my image is showing because I'm the one that created the 3 items. So if it's me and someone else that creates the items, you get to see their image here. So I'm just going to do a little bit of design to the icon, to the image rather. So I'm just going to add a border radius of 50. I'm going to also try and do a little bit of design to A. Okay, so right now I can see my application is now looking great. So the next thing we're going to do is add these indicators. So these indicators to show you if your request has been approved, if your request has been rejected, or if your request has been pending. So it's always good for the users to also have a visual description of their request. So that way they get to know which page they are at a particular time. So we're just going to come here. So we just click on this and click on this. So we just highlight the button and duplicate the button. So we just copy it and paste it. All right, so we drag it to the end of our, so we just resize it, maybe the size of 13, and the border radius should be 0 to make it look all right. So now that we have that, we are going to place a formula there. Please, yeah, with me. Okay, so the color property already has a default color. So, but we don't want that. So we're just going to use an if statement to show the color based on the status. So this is what we're going to use, if formula. So if this item so for the sake of slow internet, we might just copy and paste some of the formulas from our application. But I'm going to explain as we paste it because the internet is a bit slow. So working with Power App, you need to have really fast network because sometimes when you're typing your formulas, you might get frustrated due to the slowness of your internet. So I'm just going to copy this formula from here and paste it there. I'm going to explain for you what the formula does. So we're just going to paste it here. So we're just trying to say, so if the status value is pending, let the color be yellow. If if the status of this created item was pending, let the indicator be yellow. If it is approved, let the indicator be green. If it's rejected, let the indicator be red. So you can see here that these indicators are now used to distinguish the status of the application. But we have succeeded in doing this, displaying our gallery and showing the indicators and designing it in a way. So what we're trying to achieve is not this. So we're trying to actually make this page display just pending requests. So that's what we're going to go ahead to do next. But further, let me just quickly add a little design to this. So I'm just going to reduce the width of this to 10. All right, so it looks much better now. All right, so let's just quickly all right, so let's create. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is to display just the pending request here. And you can see from our indicator that the pending request is the one with travel leave request, study leave. So this is how to display it. So come to the items, you are going to add a filter property. So let's just copy the property from here, formula from here, due to our the problem with our internet. So I'm just going to paste it here. So for what the formula does is I'm just trying to tell it filter our leave request data source where the status, the value of the status of our request is pending. So filter our data source where you have the status for a request that is pending. So just taking a bit of time to load. Okay. All right, so it's just taking a little bit of time to reflect. Okay. Okay. All right, so I think it's working now. So you can now see that this is the only thing we have here. So we have the pending request page, and now we have just pending request. So we also need to build our approved and rejected page. So we're just going to come over here and duplicate our page. So we can see that we already have like a reusable header. So we can reuse this header by just duplicating this page. So come to the screen, right click on the three dots, duplicate screen. All right, so we now duplicate our screen. So we're just going to name this screen approved request. So the first thing we're going to do is to rename this, call it approved request. And then we're going to rename the screen here. So we call the page approved request. All right, so that's all for that. So let's also show approved request. So how do we know that our request is approved? Is when we look at the indicator, we see that indicator is green, because green was the color that we used to know if our request has been approved. So we'll come to where we have the filter formula for our gallery. So the item on the item property of the gallery, just come to filter my data source where my status is approved. So you clean up this pending and put in approved there. So just going to take a few seconds to reflect. So you can see our request that has been approved, maternity leave. So you can also see from our SharePoint list, maternity leave is the request that has been approved. So the next one we're going to do is work on the next page, which is for the rejected. So we're just going to also duplicate our approved request page. So we're just going to come to where we have the screens on tree view, come to the three dots, click on duplicate screen, and we're going to have a new screen. So the new screen now, we're just going to rename it to rejected request. So you can see the user flow of this app. So it's just basically for the simple use case for leave request system. But you can see from the logic that we use here, you can build so many things with the logic that we have used to build app and build apps to do so many things. So the possibilities are endless with the Power Platform. All you need to do is just come up with an idea, and with the proper design system in place, you can build anything with the Power App. So it's a rejected request. So how do you know it's rejected? Is if the indicator is red. We're just going to come to the item property of the gallery, filter our leave request database when the status is rejected. So we're just going to type rejected here. Okay. So all right, so it's just going to take a few seconds to load. All right, so you can see I'm going for an holiday. It has been rejected. So if you come to your data source, you're going to see I'm going for an holiday. Is the item that has been rejected. So from there, you can now see done that. So we've built our application with a leave request system with 4 different screens to show you our requests that are pending, our requests that are approved, our requests that are rejected. So the next thing we're going to do now is we are going to link each of those pages. So because last week we didn't finish up, so we couldn't link up the pages, we're just going to link up the pages and add sweet animations to them. So let's start with the pending request. So we click on the button, the pending request button. So on select property, which is false, we change it to navigate to our pending screen. So navigate pending request. We add animation to the screen, so put a comma, screen transition, the cover. All right. All right, so this is what we've done. So okay, so we're just going to take a few seconds to pick. So we can now see. So we have now gotten to our pending page. So we just duplicate that effort across the different buttons. We can just copy this formula, copy it, paste on the approved request button. So we just change the navigation to the screen that we want. So it's going to be navigate to the approved requests rather than the pending request. So approve request, screen transition, the cover. The next thing we're going to do is for the rejected request. So we're going to also paste this formula there on the bottom of the rejected request. So on select property, we just paste this formula there and put in rejected request. All right, rejected. Okay. So I think we've done that for all the pages, so we can now test it, see if it works. So we have the pending request, we have the approved. Remember, we are using these indicators to know. We have rejected request, which is yellow. So we can now run through the app, so we can make a new request. So we just make a new request today. We call it day off work. Type of leave, let's call it annual leave. We add the date. Okay. And we add a manager, Willie. Comments. Thank you. We're testing. So we submit it. So one to test is if our data is truly working. All right. So we now have let's check if a new item submitted successfully. We can see the new item has submitted successfully. So by default, last week we set the default of our items on our SharePoint to be pending, because once the user submits the request, the default state of that request is basically pending because it hasn't been attended to by his manager yet, it hasn't been rejected or approved. So the default state of most requests or submission are always pending. So we're going to just come to the app to check if it's going to appear on a pending screen. So we see right now nothing is appearing because the app hasn't been refreshed. So when you're working on the Power App Studio and you added a new item on your SharePoint list to test, or how you refresh your data sources, come to the tree view pane where you have your navigation pane. You click on the data source icon and you refresh your data source. So you come to your data source, right click on the 3 buttons and you click on refresh. So we're trying to refresh our data source right now. It's going to take a few seconds to refresh. And what you see now, you can see our new request has been added. So I just added this request now, is day off and annual leave. can see it has been added. So if we change this to if we edit this on SharePoint, if we so next week my colleague Basi is going to take you on Power Automate and is going to show you how to automate this using Flow. So rather than coming to do all these updates manually, you can use Flow to capture request the information and read it and write it back to your SharePoint list and also do some manipulation. Basi is going to take you there and it's going to be a really, really, really interesting session. I advise everyone here to be there. So we can change it to rejected and we change it to save. So sorry, it's rejected right now. So once we come to our app, we want to see if it has been rejected. So we just come to our app and let's try and refresh our data source again. So refresh our data source. All right, so now you can see, it's now rejected. So you can see that our app perfectly. So next thing we're just going to do is build our view screen. So maybe you created a request and you want to make some edits to it. So we want to work on that now. So all you need to do is let's duplicate our form screen. So our form. So we're going to show you how to use one screen to display a form in a view mode or an edit mode. So the first thing we need to do is duplicate our form screen rather. So all right, so we call it pending request. All right, so we can call it oh sorry, I was working on the wrong app. So I'm going to do this again. Duplicate the screen. So I have the two apps open. So sometimes I'm mistakenly working on one without actually knowing the one I'm working on. I'll change this to pending request details. So that's the name of the screen. I'm going to give it that screen name. We can also change the name of the form to pending details. So we just change the name of the form to pending details. All right, so now we're done with this. So we're going to just show you how to fetch information from our gallery and display it on this form here. So the first thing we're going to do is just copy the formula that is on this. For the sake of our internet, we can't type in all this formula from scratch. So I'll just paste them and show you and explain to you what the formula does. So we're just going to come here and click on the item property. So on the item property of the, so you come to your pending screen, you look at the gallery. So what's the name of the gallery you have here? You have gallery one. So the name of the gallery is gallery one. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to come to the detail screen for your pending request and paste this formula on the item property. So just highlight the form So paste this on your form. So on your form, I'm going to put this formula on the pending request, the icon. So this navigate icon for view more details. So you're just going to put this formula. So put navigate to your pending screen details, pending details rather. So navigate to your pending details. So we just add a bit of animation to it. The network is really slow. Power apps, when you're working on it, you really need fast internet so it doesn't frustrate you. So, all right, so that's that. So we can come here and test it if it works. So click on this. So I don't think it works yet. So just trying to figure out why it's not working. All right, so just okay. So then why it's not working is because our form right now is set to new mode. So we have default mode for form. So form mode, it can be new, it can be an edit form, it can be view. So we need the form to be an edit form for us to be able to see the details. So once we select it to edit form, we see all the details of our request here. So we can go back, come back, and see the details of our form here. So that's that. So the next thing we're going to do is add, just do play with a little bit of formulas. So we're going to add an icon to this. So we can just rename the screen first. So we call it pending details, pending request details, pending request details. All right. So just drag it down. So let's add an icon, an edit icon here. So let's just put the icon here. So let's resize it. We'll change the color to white. So we see. So let's add a formula that when we click on this, so by default, we want this form to be view only. So we want this edit icon to make the button, the form editable. Then let's just do some manipulation. So the button that we use for submitting, we want to use it for updating now. So we're just going to change the name to update. And we also want to make this button disabled when we have our details on view mode. So we're just going to come here to the form mode. So I told you we have different form modes. So we'll click on form mode and we'll click on the form and we'll change the default mode to view. So once we do that, we see that our form is now in view. So we want to use this edit button to make our form editable, and we also want to make our button disabled. So we just click on the edit button on the select, we say edit form. So edit form, form, what's the name of our form is pending details. So in the edit form, pending details. Oh my network is quite slow. Sorry about that. All right, so edit form, pending details. So let's also make this button disabled when your item is on view, and editable when your item is on edit. So we just come here, we'll just copy the formula we have here due to time and our internet. So I'm just going to come here, click on the button. So the display mode, I'm just going to copy this and paste it here on the display mode property of this button. So this display mode shows whether a button is editable, which is clickable, and disabled, which is non-clickable. So I'm just going to put this formula here. I'm going to explain the formula. So we just change the name to our form name, pending details. So what I'm just trying to say is, if the form mode of our pending details form is view, the display mode of the button should be disabled, or else. So now if I click on this edit button, it's going to make the form editable and the button is clickable. So we want to update, maybe we made a request, we made a mistake and want to update, so we can just use this to update it. So how do we make the form, how do we take the form back to view, and how do we take the form back to view and make this button disabled? So we're going to add another icon, cancel icon. So just going to come here, put in the cancel icon. Somewhere here. So we're just going to put it here, right here. All right, so we just call it, make it white. So on the select property, we just put view form. So I've told you about the different form modes that you can do. Is view, new, and edit. So just view form, pending, details, select. So let's see if that works. I'm going to try to update the form. It's best if you add the ID. It's best to add the ID column. So the ID column. So why you need to add the ID column is because if you try and submit this form now, it's going to create a duplicate value on a SharePoint list. Well, if you add the ID column, it's going to look up the ID column when it's submitting. So it's going to still submit back to the same ID column. So that way there won't be a duplicate value. So once we add our ID column to update, we can just make the ID column invincible, since it's the column that we are not going to interact with. So we're just going to make the visible to be false. Okay, so I think that's all. So let's see. So we click this and the form goes back to all right. So sorry about that. When the form the icon rather invisible when the icon is sorry, when the details is on view mode. All right. So we're just going to come here, click here. So we're just going to come here, click on the button, visible. So we're just going to copy this formula here and paste it here. So I'm going to explain the formula while I paste it. All right, so so if the pending details, the form details, if the form details is on edit mode, the icon should be true, that it should be visible. If it's not on edit mode, if it's on view mode, it should be false. So you can see that the icon is no longer showing, but if we make our form edit mode, the icon shows now for you to close it. Let's just make an edit, day of work. Day of work today, and I can update it, and it's successful. And let me view if that has taken it. I to let me refresh. So that's day of work. Sorry, my network is a bit slow. All right, so you can see the changes, day of work today. So you see it has been updated for us without creating a new item. So I think that's all. We just need to refresh our data so to see if that has affected on us displayed on our app. So we can see day of work today now. So we can see that the day of work today has reflected. That's all we have for this episode. So we have seen how to build our leave request app to show you different results. So it can be new, it can be pending, it can be approved, it can be rejected. So that's all for our session that we had. Sorry, we had to rush this session because of so many things that we had to do, but I hope that we have been able to learn how to create Canvas app with Power App. So we can actually do one or two things with the Power App platform.
Okay, thank you very much for that insightful session. For now, we can build a simple Canvas app with Power Apps. So we've seen for ourselves, you don't have to be a pro developer for you to be able to build such a simple app. Thank you once again, Willie, and thank you, listeners, for staying on the call. We'll just go through it to questions and answer for today. We're already running out of time, and we have a question already for you, Willie. Okay, Anne is asking, how do you set up the app to reflect the number of leave days allocated to a staff? And whenever they request for their leave, it will automatically reduce the number of the annual leave allocated and reflect the remaining days for the staff and manager to view.
That's actually like a very useful scenario, right? So, and a very good question. So what I do is I also create another list where I capture all my users and their leave days. So I'm going to, like, at first instance, when building the app, before anyone uses it, I'm going to first capture all the users in the application on a separate list with their total number of leave days. So what the app is going to do is, or we can use a collection to create that and store it as a temporary data storage, or we can use an Excel sheet to create that temporary list. What the application is going to do is you're going to create a formula that what it does is when you make a request, so on the button where your manager approves, so you're going to create a formula there that says if this request is approved minus the total number I've requested from the total number that is available on that my second list that I've created with all the staffs and all their total leave days. So I won't be able to implement that today, but I can we can do that one-on-one later.
Okay, thank you, Willie. Anne, I don't know if that answered your question. If we have questions from any other person, we can get on with it. Or you can just quickly drop it on the chat window. I'll pick it up from there. Okay, I can see someone's hand is Tony Sean. Okay, please go on with your question, please.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, Willie, thank you for the time to show us this. I really enjoyed your presentation. I want to add to what Anne asked. You spoke about creating a list, to check for those who have of their leave request count. So, okay, is there a way we can prevent users from requesting leave if they exceeded that count? Like when they try to request, that request box will be graded out for them. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, you can actually do that. So from the top of my head, there are many ways to do this, but from the top of my head, what I'm going to think of is if that runs and check if the total number of leave that the person has on the list or the temporary data storage that you have has been exceeded. So what the flow is going to do that once it checks that and it sees that that number has been exceeded, it's going to mark that person as overdue. So the app is also going to look up that list and check uh, if the name of the person, if the person has been marked as overdue, the button is going to be created out. So it's all like combination of logic and if statements that you can use to achieve that. So I really wish that we could do that now, but it's something that we can come and sit together one-on-one. We can actually figure out that together.
Thank you,
All
Willie.
right, thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry,
for your question. Do we have any other question? Okay. So in the absence of no other question, I would like to say a very big thank you to everyone who took our time to join today.
Please, I actually have a question. Sorry, my hand has been off. Yeah, my name is Anne. Good evening. Yeah,
you can go on with your question, please.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much for this session. I really enjoyed it. Both days and the that of last week has been very helpful. I've also been trying to build this, but been experiencing some kind of things, some problems, and with this was able to, the training was so helpful to me. But I also want to ask, in a case whereby someone takes sudden leave, like for instance accident or maybe being hospitalized, emergencies and all those things, and eventually that person did not go through this source and it has to do that because it has to do with life and death kind of. So I just feel, is it possible with this for the HR to come in and manually edit the person's number of days? Probably if they've taken like that kind of emergency, 2 weeks is gone or 1 week is gone. Is it possible? Because since the person did not request, certainly the leave would just be there. So is it possible for the HR to come at the back end and edit the number of days the person has taken it as regards to the emergency? Then another question is it also possible for HR to kind of come to a calendar to view people that have taken leave days or something to make it seamless, like you just have a view from one place and you see everybody that have taken the leave according to the calendar of the year, kind of. Thank you.
Well, so this was built for just a simple use case. So this use case I raising up is that Power Platform, you can actually do this. You can do it different ways. You can actually use the calendar component on Power Apps. So there's a calendar component that you can link to your SharePoint list, display information on your Power App based on the selected date of your users. You can also use SharePoint list. So you can also have like an
Hello, Willie. Can anyone else hear him? I don't know if the network issues from my end.
No, I can't hear him as well.
Oh, okay. So I guess it's network. Just a minute, please. Okay, so sorry. Willie is having a little bit of network challenge. Okay, and we'll get the question to your answer, the answer to your question ready and send it over to you if you don't mind. Willie is currently having an issue with his internet. We'll just drop it on the chat window for you.
Okay, that's fine. Do you mind if I get his contact in case if I have future questions to ask?
Okay. I'll reach out to you, please, on that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your question, Tony and Anne. Thank you, listeners. Like Willie mentioned, next week we're going to have another insightful session on Power Automate. So I'm looking forward to see everyone on this call next week. And please don't forget to follow us on our social media handles. It's currently on the chat window, yes. And if you have missed any of our sessions, especially on this Power Platform series, please, you can follow us on our YouTube channel. We have all the sessions readily available for you. And also, I have the link to a short survey on the chat window for you to give us your feedback so that we can make necessary adjustments. So thank you, everyone, for your time, and you have a wonderful evening. Bye for now. Hello, can anyone hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry, I didn't know I was muted. Hello?
Yeah, I can still hear you. Are we through for today?
Okay, sorry. I think I'm having a little bit of network issue too. I've been speaking actually. Okay, like I said, as I was saying rather, Willie is currently having a little bit of challenge with his internet. And so we just dropped the answer on the chat window for you, Anne, if you don't mind. And also you can follow us on our social media handles. Our YouTube channel is, I'll drop it on the chat window so that you can follow us on all sessions that have been readily made available for you, or recorded sessions. as well. And I also have the link to a short survey on the chat window so that we can give feedback on sessions like this so that we can make necessary adjustments. So next week, we'll be having another session with another speaker on Power Automate. And I'm looking forward to see everyone on the call next week on that session. Thank you for your time and thank you for staying back on the call. We're very sorry for the little glitch we had due to the network issue. We're very sorry about that. And thank you and do have a wonderful evening. Bye, everyone.